Mitch.
Oh, hey, Ed. How are you?
What's wrong? You're no good to me dead.
Oh, I'm not dead. I'm just encased in carbonite.
Well, that's perfect. Because we're talking about The Mandalorian.
Mama.
Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. Before we begin this week, a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the show. Remember, if you are, you know what's an interesting fact, Mitch?
What's that, Ed?
Over 70% of our viewers haven't subscribed to our show.
What?
I know.
What are you people doing out there? You're never going to know when we're doing a new show unless you subscribe. So hit the subscribe button and, more important, hit the notification button so you don't have to keep watching this all day for a new Mitch and Ed Excellent Adventure. We'll let you know when it happens.
That's right. That's right. But thank you to all our new subscribers. We've had quite a few. And who would have thunk it? Our last special, Land of the Lost, has been our most popular special so far. It's amazing.
That's a lot of slee stack, man. Who knew Chaka?
I know Chaka's got a big he's got a big fan group out there. So
he's still got it. He's still got it.
He sure does. And if you also like the show, don't forget to comment. And we've had some really fantastic in-depth comments. And we really appreciate all the effort that goes into those and that you're really enjoying the show. So that's
especially the Halloween episode we did. There was a lot of good information about some of the TV specials that we talked about and some that we didn't talk about. So maybe we'll go back and revisit that because there's a lot of material that we've yet to cover. So
there sure
thanks
is
for the input. Yeah.
Well,
but anyway,
we're
what
talking
are we talking about today?
We're talking about I've sort of dressed up a little bit. I've gone a little bit like the flannel one. And while this is my indie fedora, thanks to Penman Hats, it's actually, I'm sort of trying to channel Dave Filoni a little bit because we are talking about the Mandalorian.
Oh, I just happen to be wearing the original Mandalorian that we all know, Boba Fett.
That's right. Yeah. And of course, season 2 just dropped. Well, as of recording, for me, it was yesterday, but for you,
for me, it was 3 o'clock this morning, and I was watching it at 3:05 this morning. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm dedicated.
We'll talk a little bit about season 2 and episode 1 of season 2. We might have we might put a spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, but odds are you probably have. But I
was gonna say, why don't we just go back to when we first started hearing about Mandalorians and Boba Fett way before the Disney Plus show. I mean, we're talking over 40 years ago now, right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. In fact, I remember first seeing and I didn't realize he was a Mandalorian. I just thought he was a bounty hunter at this stage. And I would actually say it probably was I think it probably was the Star Wars holiday special, but it certainly was either that or in tandem with the release of this. You got it where you could find out about a new Boba Fett action figure from the new film Empire Strikes Back. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's where I first heard of Boba Fett. How about you?
Same thing here, Ed. I started hearing inklings of like a new character coming out for this new Empire Strikes Back. Because again, sequels were a brand new territory for a lot of us. Most of them were never good back in the 70s. They were always inferior copies of the original one. But this was going to be something special. And Joe Johnston, under George Lucas's orders, were to create something called like a super commando. It's almost like a variation of the stormtrooper that was already established by Ralph McQuarrie early on. And you might see even some toys of that one where there's a shield and they had a lightsaber. But this was going to be a different type of character. This was going to be like a commando, like an elite force. And these guys, from what Lucas was thinking about, was the Clone Wars. These are people that were fought in the Clone Wars that were mentioned by Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first movie, but we didn't know even know what the Clone Wars were. Our imagination was coming up with stuff. So they sent Joe Johnston out there, who's a fantastic artist, and say, come up with some conceptual stuff. So what you see behind me here, and in some of the action figures that they've come out with too, they started tinkering around with that. And they came up with the helmet that's kind of like the T face mask, and then the rocket pack too. And so much so that they even had Joe Johnston make a costume of it to show George what it would look like. And there's video of this. I think it's on one of the documentary specials on some of the old DVDs, where they dressed him up in this white outfit. They gave him the beach towel. That's the legendary Star Wars beach towel as a cape. It's not even a real cape. It's just somebody grabbed it. And if you look really good on the details, you can see it's a Star Wars beach towel. They even came up with the little, you can see it in the picture there. There's a little smoke coming out of his jetpack. Mm-hmm. So when they brought it over to George, they wanted to show him how it would work. And he's like, oh, this is great. And like you said, the only thing that the fans got to see was there's going to be a toy coming out. And if you mail away, you're going to get this special figure. And we didn't know what Boba Fett was. I mean, we all knew he was going to be some type of bad guy, but we didn't know exactly what he was going to be. Was he going to be one of an army of guys? Was he going to be a solo guy? But like you said, it wasn't until the famous, there it is.
Yes.
The holiday special. The only good thing that people can agree upon was the cartoon was good.
That was created by Nelvana. Nelvana, later on, you'd probably know as Inspector Gadget. They did the Care Bears as well. And of course, they did later on the Droids and Ewoks animated series. But this was a really sort of a gritty looking, very stylized sort of look into the Star Wars universe. Basically, Luke and R2 and 3PO had to go find Han and Chewie, who were looking for a certain MacGuffin, basically. And Boba Fett comes in. Boba Fett seems to be a friendly person at this stage, which is quite interesting. Of course, they find out he's working for the Empire. And I know that Nelvana, they did study a lot of the spaghetti westerns, which was interesting for the look and the grittiness of it, which obviously has followed through to the Mandalorian today. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's probably about a 9-minute cartoon. You can find it on YouTube in its entirety if you want to watch it.
What is it, Master Luke? I'm not sure. You saved my life. Thank you.
You are alone?
I have 2 droids. We've come in search of a ship that crashed near here.
Maybe I can help you. I am Boba Fett. The ship you seek is nearby.
Are the Imperial troops near this planet?
They are here, friend, and growing more powerful.
How far away?
Settle down. All they do is eat.
This is all we have, but he's welcome to it.
You are foolish to waste your kindness on this dumb creature. No lower life form is worth going hungry for, friend. I take it you have no love of the Empire.
Yeah, it was great. You got to see his signature look, his fantastic, interesting double-pronged rifle, and his rocket pack. He was a really exciting, mysterious character of few words.
Yeah, and like you said, everything you could imagine a little boy would want for a toy was in that design. It had a flamethrower in the wrist. It had the rocket missile in the backpack there. And like you said, the double-pronged gun. We didn't know what that was. He also had Wookiee braids. I mean, the costume told so many stories without telling you anything about the character. How could you not just fall in love with this guy? It's like, what's his backstory? I want to know more about this guy here. I mean, Lord knows the Star Wars universe was already full of 1,000 aliens that you want to know more of. But this one character who says more in the cartoon than he will in The Empire Strikes Back, it just immediately caught on with the fans, and everybody just wants to know more about him. And like you said, it wasn't until The Empire Strikes Back came out that we really got to see Boba Fett, even though we didn't hear much about him. But the comic book came out just when the movie did. The Marvel comic came out. And I remember behind me here, the drawing of Boba Fett on the front cover. It just captured my imagination because, you know, he didn't have a VHS or a DVD to go home and study. So I would just sit there and look at that costume and go, ooh, what's that? What's that? Where did he get this from? Where did he get that from too? So, I mean, He was fantastic. And did you notice that his voice, I mean, many people now won't recognize this because they've dubbed his voice with Tamara Morrison, but back in the day, he was done by an actor named Gabriel Dell, who was part of a group here called the Dead End Kids or the East Side Kids. It was a 40s or 50s black and white comedy group they were. And they were like an Abbott and Costello type thing. And Gabriel Dell was one of the actors there, but he went on to become a broadcaster and a voiceover artist. He's the original voice of Boba Fett for The Empire Strikes Back, but now he's like Clive Revel. He's lost to time. You don't see him anymore. And Sebastian Shaw, they're gone. They've been erased from Star Wars canon. But the original voice was a guy named Gabriel Dell. So,
I do miss. I don't mind Tamura Morrison added into Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and I suppose it does give continuity, I suppose, to the character. But as someone of our age, who remember. It's hard to get those original voices and original scenes out. But I agree with the figure originally. Of course, we've spoken about it. Check out our collecting episode. Was the rocket firing Boba Fett originally, and obviously that Super Commando sort of changed a little bit to when we saw him in The Empire Strikes Back, but of course he did retain a lot of the weapons. You were saying the rocket, which I love seeing. He also had the flamethrower, the wrist gauntlets that shot out the rope, which was really cool. And I liked, as you can see on the helmet here, what I liked was, like a Star Wars, a used universe, is the the dints, and thinking, what battle did he get that in? Or what scrape did he get that? Or how did he get those Wookiee braids? What happened and all that sort of stuff.
I was going to say, I had a keychain somewhere around this house that had voice dialogue from the original movie, and it has that actor's voice on it. So when you press the button, you'd hear the 5 lines like, "He's no good to me, dead."
Yes.
Put Captain Soul in the cargo hold, all that stuff. But that's the original actor. You have the 12-inch Boba Fett action figure toy. Yep. It doesn't speak or anything. There's no sound effects in that, is there?
No, it doesn't. All it's got is it's got quite a cool. Let me grab it, actually.
All right. No, because I remember that was a big deal when that toy came out, all the different features it had, but a sound chip was not one to be had in that thing.
No, so he's pretty cool. So he's got his visor that comes down. Yeah. He's got his Steve Austin where you can look through the back. You can see maybe there. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
He's got his Wookiee pelts.
Yep.
Right here. His blaster, his rocket, his wrist rocket. Yeah. He's got his basically the rocket that comes out at the end and it ties up here.
Does that shoot out? Is there like a
it doesn't shoot out, but it you can use it as sort of like a grappling hook. So so I was so thrilled to finally get a complete, to complete my version of him, because he's a great action figure, actually. So
so everybody wants to know more and more about Boba Fett, and the only time you got to find out more, and for the first time, for anybody at home that's actually counting and go, well, what about the Mandalorian? What about that? Well, that doesn't happen right away, because Marvel Comics, to their credit, Dave Michelinie was the writer, are the first people to coin the phrase Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a George Lucas thing. That's not a Joe Johnston thing. It was the Marvel Comics, issue 68 of the Star Wars comic. And it's about a group of Mandalorians, if you will. And it's led by a guy named Fenn, Fenn Shisa.
Yes.
And he was friends with Boba Fett. And Princess Leia comes across Fenn and 2 other Mandalorians. And they tell the story about how they were born on the planet Mandalore, and they fought for the Empire. And the Emperor had put out a bounty on Princess Leia. Somewhere I got the shot of it here. And you could see in the distance there's a picture of the Emperor, and he's got a picture of Princess Leia. So he hires these bounty hunters to go after her. And then there's a whole scuttle between Boba Fett and Fenn Shisa, and they fight about who's to collect what. But that's to to the canon that's out there that everybody wants to know about. Even Dave Filoni talked about this once in a behind the scenes video. Where was the first time you heard the term Mandalorian? And that's where it comes from. It comes from that Marvel comic. So, you know, not all the things that they came up with are canon anymore, but this little snippet actually stuck. And that's the whole basis of what we're going to be talking about after on. It's about a group of warrior type aliens, I'm going to say, kind of like a Spartan type of thing. They're hunters. You know, they don't always do things for money. They do things for honor, and they have a code about them too. And they're just not scum and villainy. They just don't kill people or hunt people down for a quick buck. It's very regimented, and they have
they're not like they're not like the Predator that does it for sport. So as we find out, it's a creed. It's a creed.
It's a belief. Yeah. It's a way of life. What do they say on the show? That's the way it is.
That's Bruce Hornsby and the Range. Actually, that would be good. Bruce Hornsby and the Rangefinder. I like it.
No. Well, there you go. What I'm just saying that they're kind of like the Klingons. If you watch Star Trek, you got Klingons, you got this whole society based on honor and all that. Kind of like the Mandalorians, except they're damn cooler with all their gadgets and such too.
Absolutely. So and there's you alluded to the legends. I do remember I've got was it 110 issues of the Marvel Star Wars comics?
Yeah, 108 issues, and then
108. So I've got all of those, and I remember those stories, and they were really fantastic. Unfortunately, as you said, you know, not canon, but you will find bits, and they do cherry pick ideas.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. I was just going to say the whole story with Karen Travers, who wrote a series of 501st novels and went into all the history and lore of Mandalore and you know, their belief system. And there was the Jedi the Mandalorian Jedi battle and purge. It wasn't called the Purge, really. No. And all that is has been erased into the ether. But
I was going to say Dark Horse Comics, after Marvel Comics lost the license in the mid 80s, Dark Horse picked it up. And now Dark Horse, right after the Shadows of the Empire, the Heir to the Empire trilogy comes out, there's a whole new resurgence in Star Wars fandom. This is like 1990, 1991. Everybody's coming back on board because it's been years since we saw Boba Fett get wiped out unceremoniously into the Sarlacc pit. Yes. And pretty much everybody thought it was over. But suddenly we have a whole new series of novels that start to come out. People want to know more about the character because he was such a fan favorite. And to George Lucas's bewilderment, he's always said he never understood what the fascination was with Boba Fett, because to him, it was just a throwaway character, like Greedo was in the bar in Star Wars. He was never meant to be more than a bounty hunter hired by Darth Vader to get Han Solo. But the fan community created such a love for Boba Fett. They wanted to know more. They wouldn't let him die. And there was a book called Jabba's Palace, Tales from Jabba's Palace, where it explained how Boba Fett did not die in the Sarlacc's maw, in the mouth. He didn't die in there and suffer for 1,000 years as he was slowly digested. He escapes. And there's a comic book about it, and they talk about how Dengar helped him survive.
Right. Doesn't he lose his memory? Does he lose his memory? He loses
his memory because he was trapped. He was slowly being digested over 1,000 years, so it was messing with his mind. But his uniform or his costume, his armor saves him from being devoured by the Sarlacc, because it's got, we don't know at the time the proper name.
It's that Beskar metal. That's
the armor. But it was, I don't think they even called it then, because again, this is all evolving as we go along. So they didn't get into that, but he does survive. In fact, he shows up in the sequel, Dark Empire, where Han Solo goes to Nar Shaddaa and he meets the Hutts and all that stuff. And there's Boba Fett, and Boba Fett and Han Solo just pick up where they left off and start fighting with each other. And it's almost like a Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote situation, because Boba Fett shows up, Han Solo kills him, boom, blows up, shows up again. He's all dirtied and, you know, I'm still after you, Solo. And then they go at it again. It's like a never ending chase between these two people, you know? So again, all these stories that were so well done. I mean, there was one Boba Fett book after another Boba Fett book, one that he fought Darth Vader It was phenomenal, but you could still go and read them. They're categorized as legends. So the books are still in print and they've been reprinted in collected editions. But basically what they mean by legends is it's not part of the core Star Wars official canon. I mean, you don't need to read all these books like we did because they don't matter. Yeah. They just, what happened in the films, what happens in the Clone Wars cartoon, and then Rebels and all the other animated ones, the official Disney Lucasfilm productions, those are the true history of the Mandalorians and all the Star Wars characters. And it's kind of sad because, like you just mentioned, there's such a rich history where they trace back how for thousands of generations, the Jedi and the Mandalorians were allies at one point, and then they turned against each other. And then there's a battle with a character called Ulic Queldroma, and then there's Darth Malak. All these stories that we read about, video games, comic books, audio dramas, novels, it just got washed away. So it's a very hard to watch a lot of the current Star Wars stuff because we're brainwashed for 20 years with all these expanded universe stories that kind of stuck in our head. So when we go to watch The Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi, go, hey, wait a minute. That's contradictory to what we learned about the Jedi Knights before. Or this is not what I learned about the Mandalorian. So you really have to put all that stuff away and just concentrate on, like I said, the animated show and the Clone Wars and all that to truly enjoy this stuff, because you'll sit there and nitpick all these little details that just don't matter anymore.
I know. I think Star Wars needs, like DC, a multiverse where, there's another universe where you can have, different Flash, Ezra Miller, or you can have Grant Gustin they all exist in the same universe. So that would help. However,
I was going to say they did do a series called Star Wars Infinites, where it was kind of a what if or an Elseworld story where they said, what if Princess Leia joined up with Darth Vader, or what if Darth Vader turned to the good side and didn't die? So there's a whole bunch of those stories. Again, very well done, illustrated, fantastic, but they're just stories. Don't sit there and expect them to be on the big screen or referred to, because they don't matter. But if you want a good read, by all means, go out there and read the Star Wars Legends series. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, after we saw Boba Fett unceremoniously shot into the Sarlacc, and, in sort of a blink and you'll miss it almost moment, it took a long time to see Boba Fett back on film. And when we did see him, it was probably not exactly how we expected to see him back in 2002. So we saw him as a kid, Boba Fett as a kid, to the father, Tamura Morrison, playing Jango Fett. But it was still great to see a Mandalorian up on the big screen fighting, as we'd never really seen Boba Fett fly in a movie or fight in a movie before.
Yeah, we got to see Jango Fett in action, and literally in action, because he fights Obi-Wan Kenobi on Kamino in the rainstorm. That's a terrific battle sequence between the two of them. But they showed everything in Jango Fett's armor in that movie. I mean, my God, he had the wrist gauntlets, the flamethrowers, little like I don't know what you want to call them, metal hooks that came out that made him
so he could like on the gauntlets, like Batman.
Like Batman. So, but Jango Fett was a cool, badass character, and of course, he's the template that they use for the clone troopers, who then become the stormtroopers. But we still don't know anything about the Mandalorians too much. It's not until we get into the animated series of the Clone Wars cartoon where we really start to find out more about the history of Mandalore. And this is the stuff that's going to tie into the new Disney Plus TV series, The Mandalorian. And this is Dave Filoni when he comes up to bat. I mean, he's handpicked by Lucas to do the Clone Wars show, which was initially going to just be the secret stories of Obi-Wan and Anakin and his new Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, that we never heard about. But there was whole seasons devoted to Sabine. I think that was Obi-Wan Kenobi's girlfriend, who was the leader. Satine.
Yes.
I mean, It just went on and on and on. I mean, it's really like a soap opera. There's, I'm going to say, more than a dozen episodes or more of the whole internal conflict. You got the Death Watch
Yes.
And then you got Vizsla. I can't
Pre
think of his name.
Vizsla,
who's voiced by
John Favreau,
who's eventually going to come and create the Mandalorian. So it's really interesting to start looking at this backstory. You wonder where the seeds of the Mandalorian TV show really start, because
yes,
is it Favreau, who's just a voice actor working with Filoni, and they just start talking to each other, or George starts planting the seeds to a Mandalorian TV show? Or I don't know. Isn't there a video game that was in the works at that point?
There was it was called 1313, I think, was it
was the seedy side of Coruscant.
Yeah, like it was like the below the levels, and it was going to be something like that as well. So I think there was all those things. There was that. You also had a lot of there was a lot of story about the Mandalorians, and you had Bo-Katan that Katie Sackhoff voiced as well. You find out about the Dark Saber. Darth Maul tries to take. You've got the Mandalorian commandos, and there's a whole certainly in the later seasons. And the good thing is they're all on Disney Plus. And to be honest, you don't need to like with Star. I sometimes I like going to a movie and I don't like having to go. That's one of the problems I have with the Marvel movies is you go, oh my God, I've got to have seen every single thing. Sometimes to get all those things. But you don't really need to, know that to watch certainly Mandalorian season 1 or season 2. You can just go in and enjoy it. But it's a little bit richer and deeper if you do go and watch those episodes. There's also of Rebels as well, where you've got
is it Sabine?
Sabine.
Yes, Sabine. Yes. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Darth Maul. You just mentioned him really quickly. Again, that's a whole other subject we didn't even talk about when it comes to Mandalorian, because the Dark Saber, for those folks who don't know what it is, it does show up in season 1 of The Mandalorian. People are like, what is that black lightsaber? That, and if I can find it right over here, it's not the real thing. I would have cut my fingers off if it was. But this weapon was created by the Mandalorians, and it was designed to fight a Jedi Knight's lightsaber. And the person who wielded this was the leader of the Mandalorians. So there was only one of these. And if you had it, you were by default the leader of the Mandalorian. Darth Maul takes this saber, if you will, the black saber, the dark saber, and he becomes the leader of the Mandalorians on the animated series. So I don't know if they're going to talk about that, because they have incorporated Darth Maul into the Star Wars sequels. He was the baddie in the end of Solo. And now that we see the Dark Saber show up in The Mandalorian by Moff Gideon, walks out of the TIE fighter at the end of episode 8, I think it is, season 1. And he's holding that above his head. That now ties the animated series into the show. It blew my mind at first. Like, oh my God, now they're bringing Darth Maul into it. And he had his brother, Savage Opress. You say you might not want to read all that extra expanded universe stuff, but it does make it a very richer story to know there's all these layers to it. Because I know my son, he loves The Mandalorian, but he doesn't know all the Clone Wars stuff. He knows some of it, but he didn't watch the later seasons. But he's like, what's that lightsaber thing, Dad? And then I start telling him about it. Again, you could appreciate The Mandalorian TV show without knowing every little minutiae, detail to the whole thing.
Well, that's what I do like about it, and we'll talk about it obviously as we get into it. But I do like that you don't necessarily need to know it to watch it, but after watching it, that's when you go, oh, I'm going to Google that, or what's this about, or that, and that's what I do like. Well, originally, so before the Disney acquisition and everything like that, they were working on a Star Wars TV show. So. And it was called Underworld, and they had hired writers, and they had written around 50 episodes.
Yeah, it was all they were all scripted and ready to go. Wasn't there a writer's strike or something that kind of put that on hold, or something?
Well, I think there was that, and also they deemed it that it was too expensive to produce.
That's right. He was looking for a network, because he said it was like Deadwood, which was a Western on HBO. That was the whole plan for this show. Yeah, I remember that now.
And and then of course, there was the Disney acquisition and everything like that. And then then we found out, okay, there's going to be a Boba Fett. I think it was originally like we heard there was a Boba Fett TV show originally, and that morphed into the show that is Mandalorian. So again, we spoke about Jon Favreau, who's really the creator, and we have some fantastic writers. Dave Filoni, of course, you mentioned, who was pivotal in Rebels and Clone Wars and Resistance. So he's steeped in Star Wars lore, a fan favorite, and he knows his stuff. He's got a great eye as well. And this time last year, it was the launch, I suppose, title for Disney Plus, Disney's new streaming service, The Mandalorian, and it went gangbusters.
Oh yeah, from the opening scene, everything that I imagined a Star Wars movie, live action, TV series, everything was in the opening episode. And this is what really differentiates, and I'm not going to bash the Star Wars new sequels that just came out, but as somebody who grew up with this stuff in the 70s and saw Star Wars on the big screen when I was 11 years old, and I'm in my 50s now, and I do believe Favreau's got to be around my age. I think he's in his early 50s as well. He's a nerd about this stuff. And so is Filoni and all that. We grew up, we're fanboying out on this stuff. We know all those details because we read all those expanded universes, and we know where Finn Shisa came from, and we know about Mandalore. We know about all these things, but we're like, when is that ever going to happen? So what you have is a TV show that you said earlier mines and cherry picks all the good stuff from all those expanded universe stories. It's like, hey, that Dark Saber thing was a good idea. And hey, wasn't this cool? And remember that alien you saw in the background in the cantina and you always wanted to see more? And wasn't IG-88 one of the coolest bounty hunters there was? Because he was like a battle droid, assassin droid type thing. All these stories you want to know more about, that you would tell your own stories in your own head, were on the screen in 55 minutes or so, whatever the first episode was. And literally, if they never did Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, and they just did this, I would die a happy person, because I literally watch it and think, this is Star Wars. This to me is all the adventures I always imagined as a kid.
Yes.
On every week. Well, for 8 or 10 weeks or whatever it comes out to be, but still, it's phenomenal. The design. They got Doug Chiang back, and Doug Chiang was the art
from
director
episode one. Yep.
For episode one. Brilliant artist. Just like Joe Johnston was in his day. Chiang is the other guy that comes up with all the great designs. And it's so great because there was so much information that he created for the prequels that they never really got to use because they had a finite amount of, screen time. He's using some of his old designs and they're back again. I'm like, that's really awesome, So it's a great show, but there are some things on The Mandalorian, and we can talk now about the show because we're at that point, that kind of drives me a little crazy because it contradicts a little bit. And I don't want to be the nitpicking fanboy stuff, but they can't take their mask off. That is something I don't know where that started, because we know in the Clone Wars and Jango Fett, they're taking their mask off all the time. So I don't know where this, I can't take my mask off and no living creature can see me,
Well, I understand that. We've got obviously the Mandalorians played brilliantly by Pedro Pascal, who you'll see. You probably know from, maybe Kingsman and from Narcos, and also Wonder Woman 84 when it eventually comes out. He reminds me of Burt Reynolds. He's got that Burt Reynolds persona, but he's great. He's able to emote. It's amazing. I mean, it's a sign of a great actor when you can emote
through a mask.
I've gone all American, through a mask. Which is quite amazing. I know what you mean, but it does give that. I suppose it's like Clint Eastwood in The Man with No Name.
No name.
He doesn't have a mask to take off, but he's very guarded about his, origins and his personal life. So that you can sort of equate it to that. And really, The Mandalorian is a Western. If we certainly go to episode 1 of season 2. Oh my, it's unashamedly a Western.
Yeah. Well, that a little bit of Jaws too at the end.
There was Jaws. Jaws.
Yeah. All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's talk about
we should just run down again the cast. We had the wonderful Carl Weathers.
Oh, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed. He was in Predator. He was in Force 10 from Navarone. He was Action Jackson.
Yes.
He's the man. I mean, he's one of my favorite actors. I mean, in the Rocky series, his Apollo Creed was just as good as Sylvester Stallone's Rocky Balboa. Charisma. Yeah. He's just a dynamic actor, and he's got to be in his late 70s by now, but he still has it. I mean, he's action oriented. He's doing a lot of his own stunts on the show too, but he's just something about him. As soon as you see him on screen, you fall in love with the guy.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
That's
him. I love that guy. You know?
And he's got a great arc. You know, he starts off, oh no, he's not going to be a baddie. He ends up, you think he's going to get killed, and he ends up being an ally. And I think he's a fantastic. He's
kind of along the lines of our Han Solo or Orlando Calrissian. It's like the pirate with a heart of gold type of thing.
Yeah, which is great. So he's playing Grief Karga. There's the client, Werner Herzog, the director.
Yeah, the director. Unbelievable.
And he's been. I remember seeing him.
His first acting role.
No, he's been in a few things. He was the villain in the first Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise, where he's pretty much playing the same sort of character, but. It's his accent, his delivery is just something, and he just fits within the world. And the whole thing is, like you, it looks and feels like Star Wars.
Oh my God! I close my eyes. That's Star Wars. Yeah.
You sort of think, I need Han Solo, or I need Luke Skywalker, but you don't.
If you capture the look of it, and maybe that's why I had some trouble with the prequels, because it looks so bright and shiny.
Yeah.
It always used to get me. I'm like, hey man. If you're doing a story about World War II, it should look nicer than things in the Vietnam War. You know what I mean? Like the hardware and all that should look a little aged and older. But sometimes that took me out of the Clone Wars, the prequels, is because Coruscant was so nice looking.
Yes.
Naboo was so nice looking. Everything was so polished, and it almost went against everything George Lucas set up in the first Star Wars trilogy, because it was that worn universe. It was that battered, chipped, people they use their car every day. They don't sit there and have it waxed and shiny and stuff because it's like, gold.
Well, maybe this was like the Renaissance to, that's how it was. But you also had Gina Carano as Cara Dune, who's fantastic. This kick-ass ex-rebel commando, who again is
Taika Waititi as the voice of IG-88, and then Nick Nolte is not playing the alien on the show, but he's the voice of
Quill.
Quill, yeah, because that got me at first. It said Nick Nolte. I go, there's no way that's Nick Nolte, because he's a bigger guy, and I'm like, he's not in that suit. So you find out later on that he's just the voice of it. But of course, we all know who the breakout star is.
It's Baby Yoda.
I don't know about. What is this Baby Yoda you speak of, Ed?
I know. Sorry,
I don't know anything about this creature.
No, I don't know either. I can't.
Could it be this guy? No. Could it be this guy? Could it be this guy?
No, I think it's got to be. It's got to be this guy.
Oh my goodness gracious! The world has gone Baby Yoda nuts, and one of the
maybe
things,
it's this guy.
Here's the problem.
Or this guy.
Or this guy. The problem is Jon Favreau, get your binoculars out.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau wanted to keep it such a secret, and it's hard to do nowadays with the internet and, instantaneous communication, but that SOB did it. He kept it under wraps, so much so that the merchandise people were kind of ticked about it, because they lost a fortune last Christmas without having Baby Yoda toys under the Christmas tree. But it was the biggest surprise ever when that show showed the little, I don't know, what do you want to call it? The little bassinet opened up.
Yes.
And there was a little tiny Yoda guy that walked out. I'm like, oh, it's Yoda. Well, it can't be. And of course, what do we all call it? Baby Yoda.
Yes, and it's not. And Jon Favreau says it's not Baby Yoda, it's the child.
The child, and then there's another word, not youngling, or
foundling.
Foundling.
Yeah,
dude, it's Baby Yoda. Come on.
So we should. I mean, we're a bit all over the cantina at the moment. But
no. But
I was just going to say that. Remember, the Mandalorian is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So
yes,
Luke, Han, Leia,
they're all
Lando,
out there.
they're all around. But Yoda sadly is not. And of course, what happens is that the Mandalorian, or Din Djarin, we find out is his name, is tasked with finding Yoda's.
Well, let's go into some theory. Let's go into some theories about this. Okay. Originally, he was set to deliver.
Yes.
The child or the package or whatever you want to call him
to Werner Herzog, because they wanted to extract something from him.
Aha. Now we can get into it. You can flash the spoiler alert.
Midi-chlorians.
Yes. Because one of the things that drove us all crazy about the prequels was the midi-chlorians. Like, why are there midi-chlorians? What are we doing here with that? Everybody, the Force, it doesn't work that way. Now we've got the Rise of Skywalker that just came out, and we have, again, spoiler alert, the Emperor's back.
Yeah.
How could the Emperor be back? He got blown up in the end of the Death Star 2, and he was thrown down that shaft, and he should be a mess. What could possibly bring this guy back to life? Well, if there's a being like Baby Yoda, that's pretty much got midi-chlorians running every time he sneezes out his nose or whatever. If you could extract the blood or whatever's in that little guy and shoot it up into a decrepit old man, it's like the Force Viagra. It's going to make him go right up. So that's what I think they want Baby Yoda. And it all made sense to me because The Mandalorian ended just when Rise of Skywalker came out. And when I went to the movie, it just clicked. I'm like, that's why the Emperor was looking for Baby Yoda, because or the First Order, or whoever's running the scenes back there, they need to extract his midi-chlorians from him to put inside the Emperor, and it all ties. That's my theory. What do you think?
Well, no, that could be it. I mean, we've got to remember that the Empire has crumbled. So Moff Gideon really is in charge of the remnants of, at least in this area, the Empire. And it's not the Empire that we know. They're all dirty and haphazard.
They're warlords, and they're dispersed and all that bit. Yeah.
But he's still, like those Nazis in Brazil, are still flying the flag and trying to keep the Empire going, which obviously from the films you realize that has been happening in the background. So, and he's determined to get the child, and that's what's happening in season 2. It'll be interesting. I don't really know exactly, because we only see Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. He's a fantastic villain. Again, I love those calm villains. He seems like he doesn't seem to be a one-note villain, which is really good. But we don't really know, again, who he's working for, essentially, or wouldn't it be nice to see a Grand Admiral Thrawn somewhere there or something?
Well, technically, if we're going to incorporate the animated series into the Mandalorian backstory, that does happen, because General Thrawn, who's a blue skin, people don't know what we're talking about, was a character created and heir to the Empire, the novelizations or the novels. And it's a blue skin tactician for the Empire. He wears a white uniform.
Yes.
He's got this, I don't know if they've incorporated too, but the
Ysalamiri? Is that what it is?
Yeah. They're force canceling creatures. Like if you have the Force and you go near him, you can't use the Force on him, because he wears this creature around his neck that generates a field that prevents the Force from happening.
Yep.
So they use that character in the animated show. They used him in the Clone Wars show. He pops up in Rebels too. So I'm assuming that character's out there in the Mandalorian universe, right?
I think so.
They've got the Black Saber. They've got other characters from the Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, so at this stage for season 2, it looks like they're bringing back. Well, they're not bringing back because she hasn't been here before, but we're going to see Ahsoka Tano. from the Clone Wars that is rumored.
I heard Katie Sackhoff is playing the live action version of Obi-Wan's girlfriend
of Bo-Katan. So she's going to be there. We've just spoiler alert. But Tamura Morrison is
that was huge,
and he's not back. He's not back really because he hasn't played Boba Fett before. Really,
no,
I mean, he has vocally. I mean, you know, in voiceovers, but so he's back, and I suppose overall, let's just in a nutshell, The Mandalorian season 1 is a cracker of a series. You don't need a lot. You can just watch it and really enjoy it. As Star Wars, you can watch it as a Western. You can watch it as an action series. It's a fantastic 8-episode season. So there's that. Season 2, episode 1 just dropped today or last night in my case. We watched it. We watched actually the end of episode 8, and then we watched
I did the same thing last night too.
Episode 1. I see they call it now episode 9.
I saw that today. It confused me when I turned it on. I go, what's this episode 9? Where's season 2, episode 1? And no, it's episode 9. So it threw me for a loop at first too. I was like, wait, I missed something.
And we find out that we see that I called him Boba Fett, but the Mandalorian is searching. He's basically looking for his people that can maybe help him find where the child's family is in somewhere in the universe. So it leads him to I saw those vintage figures. That look really good. So that leads him to a planet where we get to see a fantastic character who looks a little bit like is it Mayo from the Star Wars Cantina, the one-eyed creature
that was in the background? Yeah, the Cycloptic.
Yep, but he's also from the Star Wars Holiday Special,
played by John Leguizamo.
Yeah, not in the Star Wars Holiday Special, but in this.
No. But the thing of it is, on the show tonight, I'm amazed that it is a Disney Plus show, because when you think Disney, you think, oh, golly gee, rated G, wholesome family fun. There are some elements when the Mandalorian goes to the Gamorrean wrestling match, if you want to call it that. And I didn't know those guys could be so svelte and in shape. I always thought they were this big, blobby, Ernest Borgnine looking guys.
They let themselves go in Jabba's palace, you know.
No, let me tell you that. But he was at the fights, and they go there, and it did throw me for a loop to see them with thin legs when they were like moving around. I go, I thought they had big thighs or whatever.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I know they did look. Their faces look good, but they did look a little
scrawny in the legs. It like a big belly, a big furry butt thing, and then suddenly you got these little toothpick legs. That's the only thing that threw me for a loop. But we digress and we nitpick. But the thing of it is, when he shows up there is a fight scene where he pulls a blade out and he throws it and he stabs somebody. And I'm like, wow, Disney, yeah, I guess they're letting it go, because it was a little violent for what I assume is a kid's show. Because overall, if you watch The Mandalorian, pretty much is rated PG, like Star Wars violence. It's never decapitations or disembowelment
well, there is, but you don't really see it.
It's off screen. Yeah, it's like when the doors close on the character, the Devoronian, the devil-looking guy that was played by
Devoronian.
Brown. Yeah, the doors closed on him in the episode where they're doing the jailbreak.
Didn't he survive the Devoronian? I thought he survived.
No. The door was closing down on him, and he stopped that one. But then another door closed in his face. I assume he was squished like a bug.
Because I'm sure I read. All I'm saying is I read that Clancy Brown was asked whether his character would be back, and he said he might make another appearance.
I thought he was killed. I got to go back and watch it. I could have swore when he was stopping the door when the other one came in his face.
You could be right. But yeah, it is a little bit. It's true to it's all in context, I think, which is really
which is weird that he goes to Tatooine in tonight's episode, but he had just been in Tatooine before, and that didn't come up. That, oh, by the way, there's another Mandalorian looking guy on the other side of town. I'm like, you would have thought that would have come up, but no. And the other thing that gets me about the show that no one wants to address is the Mandalorian is the name of the group.
Yes.
Okay. It's like Worf was the Klingon on Star Trek. Okay. Mr. Spock was the Vulcan. They don't call him Mr. Vulcan or Mr. Klingon, but the Mandalorian, who does have a proper name, which they gave out, is just referred to as the Mandalorian because it's odd. It's like, well, that's like saying, well, that's not Luke Skywalker. That's the human guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why do they just refer to him as his?
Well, because remember, only Moff Gideon and Grief and Kara now know his real name. So it's like the man with no name, you know, that's,
yeah.
I think that's it. You know what bothers me more is why do they keep calling him Mando when it's actually Manda? It should be Manda.
It's the masculine of the name, not Manda, which would be the feminine if we were doing Italian.
And you know what I've really got to do? I've got to do a fan song either based on Mandy by Barry Manilow or Amanda by Boston. I reckon I could do a really good.
Was it our good friend Glenn Nelson that did Mandalorian Rain, or was that somebody else? Remember there was a takeoff of that song years ago?
It could be. Maybe we need a Bruce Hornsby song. That's just the way it is. It's perfect. It's perfect. Anyway.
We're getting the line wrong. It's not that's the way it is. That
I know
that's like an Italian. Hey, that's the way it is. What are you
Hey, it's a midichlorians.
Oh, you know, Mandalorian, forget about it.
Anyway, so season 2, it was great. Oh, yeah.
This is the way. That's the phrase.
Yes.
Not that's the way it is. It's this is the way.
But that's how parody works. You know,
I understand that, but you know, for people that are going, don't these guys watch the show? Yes, we watch it so much we're doing a thing about it right now. But
anyway, so this was you know, obviously such a Western, and it was nice to see them going to you know, not Mos Espa, not Mos Eisley, but to a new place.
Vegas. Yeah.
So
Vegas is somewhere else. That's where there's stand up and there's, you know, try the veal. Hey.
That's right. And I knew I was saying to Kelly, as soon as I saw that thing, I go, it's a crate dragon. I bet it's a crate dragon. And that was fantastic that they had that. You got to see the it was part, you said it reminded you of Jaws. It also reminded me of Moby Dick.
Moby Dick, and I'm sorry that Dune thought of sandworms before George Lucas did, but I'll tell you who does it better. Star Wars does it better. Because if COVID didn't happen, we were supposed to have the Dune movie right about now. And of course, the Dune movie has the giant sandworms in it. I don't care how good it looks. Nothing beats this giant crate dragon that could somehow go through mountains and pop out the other side. I'm like, don't even start thinking of the logic. I'm like, are those porous mountains? How does he go through the rock and all that?
It's like Buckaroo Banzai. He's going through the 8th dimension.
He must be. He goes right through the wall. And then the size.
He's got an overthruster.
Stop. What's that watermelon doing here? All I know is at one point there's a bantha and he eats the bantha whole, but he's going down that street. I thought I was watching Tremors for a minute. I'm like, what is happening?
Or Jurassic Park with the goat. I thought there was lots of little nods.
Nods to the show. And there was, like you mentioned earlier, some little tip of the hats too. Episode 1, we saw a bit of a pod racer. It looked like Anakin's, but Anakin's was yellow, not brown. I was thinking Sebulba's.
I thought it was Anakin's pod racer engine as well. It did look like he could have painted it, which I thought was kind of.
If the Marshal turned out to be Kitster, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I was thinking that somewhere in the background, it's like, where do you get these cool things? You're Mandalorian. You're so wizard. I was just waiting for that line, and it didn't happen. Weequay's name was Weequay. I thought that was the name of the race of people. Maybe we don't have any names.
No, but it's funny because I always used to call him Weequay. And then people kept going, no, it's weak. It's Weequay because you say key, Q-U-A-Y. And then it goes, hey, Weequay.
No, that's short round. All I know is he was in it. And the thing that threw me for that was the voice. Why didn't they dub him? Because he was like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, what are you doing? That's not how the Weequay talks. He should have like a.
Hang on. Have you ever heard a Weequay talk?
You haven't. Maybe.
You haven't.
Well, he doesn't sound like that. I'll tell you that. That threw me for a loop.
Anyway.
All right. So
Timothy Oliphant was Cobb Vanth.
Timothy Oliphant, I like him. He's a sexy man. I like that. He's got the gray hair.
I know. He looked. Kelly was going. He does look a little bit too. I said, "Oh, look, he took off the helmet and his hair's perfect."
I know. I was like, "Look at that. It's got not a hair out of place." The thing that got me is he was too tall and lanky for that Boba Fett armor. It didn't fit right. I'm like, wait, one size fits all? What's going on there?
It wasn't. I did. That's how I knew it wasn't Boba Fett. Yeah. But I did like how they basically, you're going, oh, he's got to go find Boba Fett. Oh, fantastic. Oh, the Sarlacc. And I did like how they played with our expectations.
That's my theory, because my son said, well, how did Boba Fett get away from it? I said, did you see where they said the Krayt Dragon ate a Sarlacc? He goes, how could he do that? I said, maybe he ate the Sarlacc that ate Boba and pooped him out. We don't know. Things happen. What's the name of the steel again? Beskar? Maybe it's like undigestible.
Well, okay. I think that's the case.
I didn't know Boba Fett had the same type of steel, by the way. But maybe it was because Jango's armor would deflect blaster fire.
Yes, it would. So, and we saw the Mandalorian obviously go into the Krayt Dragon and survive.
Yeah, and he did. And that's the thing too. Was it spitting out some type of yellow acid breath thing too?
Yes.
I'm like, what is this? Aliens now too? Because they were all running the Tusken Raiders, and I was like, and it just threw up on them, and I'm like, what? Is there no end to this show today? This is amazing. It
was a pretty good episode.
All I was waiting was for Timothy Oliphant to just sit there with that long range rifle and say, smile, you son of a boom, and watch him blow up. Then I would have been, we're done. Basically, it was Jaws at the end.
It was Jaws in every Western that you've possibly seen.
And I like how the Tusken Raiders are so down to earth, or down to Tatooine. They were even repurposing the meat from the Krayt Dragon. They were taking burgers home, and even the Mandalorian took a little.
That was a nice chunk of steak I saw he had.
Baby Yoda was kind of like, oh, but he's a vegetarian. He's not going to eat that.
I agree. Now, did I see it, or did I just imagine it? But when the Tuskens were celebrating, did they actually reverse the footage a bit? So it went.
Yeah, they did. It jumped because I thought something happened to my TV, because I go, did it just skip? And I'm like, I think it is just that. Yeah.
I feel like they could have.
You know what? If Jon Favreau comes to my house, I'm gonna marry that man, because I was like, not only did he did the Marvel movies, he did Star Wars. He's the patron saint of geeks. He is. I mean, you can get your Kathleen Kennedy, and you can get your what was that demonic man that made The Last Jedi? Rian Johnson. If it wasn't for Jon Favreau, he's the Jesus Christ of our world. He is dying for their sins. He is saving Star Wars fandom from becoming Star Trek. That's another story.
Okay.
It is. I'm so excited about it. Dude, I watched it twice. I watched it once, and then I said, I got nothing to do. It's 4 a.m. I'm watching it again. So I hit replay, and I watched it again. Make sure I got all the details. I loved how the rangefinder worked. It is kind of an awkward weapon, though. You got to bend over to
Actually, well, hang on a second. If this.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
If it locks onto a target, shouldn't it kind of go over?
Oh, yeah, lob it. You don't have to aim it. I thought that was kind of awkward. I'm like, why is he like bending down and like, what the hell?
Maybe he had gas or something. I don't know.
It looked a little awkward. No, but then Jango did it too in the Attack of the Clones. He kind of bent over. Maybe you don't want to hit you in the head.
It's going, I don't know. He's got a helmet on.
Yeah, he does.
Anyways.
It was a great episode, no matter what you want to do. Now, let's talk about something we really want to talk about. We can't be the Mandalorian. And Lord knows we try with our Baby Yoda, but there are some things we can do. You can buy the merchandise. The merchandise, Ed.
Merchandise.
And they just came out with some awesome stuff. They said, hey, you like this guy and this guy?
Yeah.
You're gonna like them as if they were back in the 70s. They just announced Monday. It was at 4:00 Eastern time. Hasbro is going to redo the Mandalorian main cast as if they were 1970s, early 80s Star Wars Kenner action figures.
Yep.
They call it part of the retro collection. Again, why would you do that for a modern audience? You don't. You do it for guys who are 40 and 50 and 60 years old like us. They go, oh, and a little tear came down my eye as I saw that vinyl cape. It looks like crap. It doesn't look good to any modern kid. But to me, I was like, oh, his arms don't move. And neither do his, like 5 points of articulation never looked so good. And even Baby Yoda.
And do you reckon they've probably sold out already, haven't they? Are they up? Are they available at retail, or do you have to just
No, they'll be available at retail if you can find them, and then they'll probably be on eBay for a lot. But I might know a guy who got 2 of each one. My wife might be watching the show.
That's all right.
But one thing I don't have, and I don't know about you, but this is crazy. And this is the HasLab.
Yep. So they've announced the Razor's Crest. I think in Australia, it's like about $1,000.
Well, here it's like $350. And what this is, what HasLab, people might not know what that is they started a project 2 years ago. They said, hey, look, we can make this big, massive replica of Jabba the Hutt's sail barge, but we can't make a lot of them because it's going to cost a lot of money to put this out. But if you, crazy fanboy out there, you want this, it's like a Kickstarter. Like if you order enough of these things and we hit a certain goal, we're going to release this thing. They did it with Jabba the Hutt sail barge. I know that because I have one in my storage unit that my wife
isn't it? It is your storage unit, isn't it?
It is. This thing is the size of a coffee table. The sail barge was the ship that Jabba the Hutt had in Return of the Jedi. It comes with Jabba. It comes with we used to call him Yak Face.
Yeah.
It comes with figures. It was a huge success. They did it again. You really got to be crazy to buy this thing, and now they've done it again. I haven't pre-ordered this one because I don't know where one would put all this stuff because storage space is a problem. But it is phenomenal. They got the detail. They got all the gadgets and the guns and all that, and it comes with exclusive figures there. So if you're a Star Wars fan, this is it. And I got to ask: is it to the scale to the little 3 3/4 guys, or is it?
Now that's I actually don't know, but it is pretty huge. It's got to be. I don't think it's to scale to these guys.
No, these are 6-inch figures, and that would be massive. I mean, that would be the size of a small bed.
There they are. The Black Series figures are really quite good.
Yeah.
And I've got there's Kara.
Yeah.
Which are really good. The only thing I've got for the Razor's Crest is
there's a little Hot Wheels came out with that.
Yep. And the other thing I've got a few to send to you in your Christmas package. I don't have this one because do you have Ushis in America?
We had some Ushis, but I got some medicine and it cleared right up. No, what's an Ushi?
So basically there's
is it coming in a box of candy or something?
No. So every $30 at Woolies or Woolworths, every $30 you'd spend, you get a Ushi. So but it's random. It's blind packed. So I've got a few to send to you in your Christmas package. Cool. But this is the only Mandalorian I could get. One of the hardest to find is Baby Yoda. I never got the child. Sorry. Let me put that back up there, and I'll put it here.
But no. So what other? And I was down at Disney last January, and they because of the delay in the Baby Yoda merchandise, they were just starting to get keychains, phone covers, T-shirts, small stuff. But it really hit. I'm going to say probably late March and April, just when COVID came. All the Baby Yoda stuff came over from China. And all the stores were full of it. Unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't get out to get this stuff. So right now, when you go to the stores, I've seen Baby Yoda night lights, Baby Yoda lamps. It's crazy. Even breakfast cereal.
Yep.
There's the Mandalorian breakfast cereal, which is cool. There doesn't come with any toys or anything, but the back of the box has artwork that looks like a trading card. That's another thing that's coming out. Our good friend Joe Caroni is doing some sketch cards for the Mandalorian Topps trading cards. I believe they come out next week or so. So that's a whole new bunch of stuff that reminds me of the old Star Wars days.
Yes.
So, but it is a phenomenon, I tell you. I mean,
it is. It's a wonderful series. The characters are well-rounded, are fantastic. The toys are great. The child is adorable. We had, we had him sitting between us on the couch when we were watching the show. It is a wonderful series, and it is Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars, which is
absolutely.
And I can't wait for next Friday already to see. I was
going to say, you took the words out of my mouth. I can't wait for the next episode. Literally, as soon as this one ended, the first thing I thought of is, how many more days do I have to wait to see the next episode?
That's right.
I mean, I have not seen. If we want to do an episode review, was there any weak ones? I'm going to say the only one maybe in season 1 I thought was kind of weak is when and it might be the actor. It was Cazell, the guy is it Bobby Cazell? Was it his son? It's when
Carnivale.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Carnivale. I think it was his son. Or
was that where he was sort of like the Han Solo character?
The younger bounty hunter who was trying to break into the guild, and he tagged along with them, and they met up with Ming
Na Wen.
Ming Na Wen. It was that episode where they were on Tatooine and they were in the Star Wars bar.
Yep.
Where Han shot Greedo, all that stuff. That was probably the only one I thought was kind of weak.
Yeah.
If you had to look at all the episodes, and then maybe the one where they fought the giant walker. It was in the mining community.
Oh yes, that's right.
That was kind of like Ewok-y type of thing,
But even so, they're still entertaining, and I'd take a bad episode of that any day. I think and look, we haven't even spoken about the technology, that stagecraft technology that they use with the screen. Though I must say, during watching the season 2 first episode, I was going, all right, they're just standing in a room, and I'm trying to see where the steam is.
They ruined it because I watched the behind the scenes on the Disney Plus show where I can't think of what it's called, but there was an 8 episode documentary where they show the making of it.
Is it the Disney Gallery, I think, or something?
Gallery,
like that?
Yeah. And when you find out that it's all one giant, big digital projection screen, really, it's like a massive wall that's a 360-degree theater type of thing, and that's where they filmed the show. So they never leave a building. They never go on location. There's not a lot of sets. It's really in a room that's just well lit and projected onto it. I thought the same thing too when they were going along a bit. I said, they're just in a big warehouse somewhere, aren't they? But that's kind of what George Lucas started with the prequels, with the green screen technology. So they've just kind of, tinkered with it and perfected it and made it look like it's outdoors and such. But it's great. I mean, don't knock it. It's hey, I've seen shows that are filmed outside that aren't as good as that.
Well, that's right. And I did read that the Batman is using that technology as well.
Oh, really?
So it's I think it
might be the way of the future. A lot of the stuff, because of what's happening in the world right now, people can't go on location a lot of times, and you want to
bring the location to you. I think
I was getting an Indiana Jones vibe on some of this today when they were jumping around. And did you notice how the Mandalorian hits the backpack of Boba Fett?
Oh, yeah, I thought that was nice too. I forgot about that. Yep.
And then when he fought Moff Gideon and he was on the outside of his TIE fighter, it reminded me of Indiana Jones when he was dragging underneath the truck.
Yes.
In Raiders of the Lost Ark, because he had his cable shoot onto it and he's pulling himself back along the wing, and then he puts his little grenade there and he blows up the guy's wing. So there's a lot. When I watch this, speaking of Indiana Jones, and we all know that you and I are huge Indiana Jones fans, this is the type of show that I wish that they did a weekly Indiana Jones series and just said, this is an adventure set in the early 40s or the 30s, and the untold adventures of Indiana Jones. And that's all. There's a random, things you never heard about or something like that. I mean,
we live in hope. We live in hope that will happen.
I would go for that any other day. I mean, I don't know when a movie might ever come out or if it ever will, but hey, if they could do it as well as The Mandalorian, I'd watch that.
Oh my gosh, it would be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and there's a Mandalorian comic book. I wanted to end the show before we talk about merchandise. They are doing everything that they did in the original Star Wars stuff, and includes a comic book, which I heard is going to come out February from Marvel Comics. So there'll be a Mandalorian comic book, which is, I think they have everything now that the original Star Wars came out with.
Yeah.
All they need now is the little snap together vans that they came out with back in the day, and a couple other little toys here and there. And a Mandalorian.
They've got the remote control child figure. I see that that you like the remote control R2D2. So they've got there's pretty much, they just need underoos, and then I
was gonna say all they need is some underoos and maybe a couple Slurpee cups or something like that, because I think they've covered everything that we had growing up as kids. Did they do a 12-inch figure yet?
They've
not
done
the hot toy stuff. That's way too expensive.
I don't think so, but it would be no brainer. I'm sure they probably would do, you know, like the really basic, they bring out the, you know, they're like about $10 or $12, the large figures. Maybe they will.
Yeah. Maybe they will.
Would make sense.
Model kits. They don't make model kits anymore, but
no,
you know, a snap together model kit of
the Razor's Crest would be nice.
But no, we're exhausted talking about the show. I don't know about you, but I'm like, woof.
I know. You know, I'm not sure, you know, if we told you all you need to know about The Mandalorian, but hopefully you're probably already watching it already, but hopefully you found some interesting facts or tidbits, or you might want to revisit some of the episodes or look at that merchandise. The cereal is interesting. We don't get that in Australia, but
you might.
You know, if we get to 200 subscribers, we're at about 160 something subscribers at the moment. At 200 subscribers, Mitch is going to eat. I don't think he's got it handy. Do you?
No, it's not here, but it's in the house.
It's in a vault. It's in a vault. The Batman cereal from 1989, which we'd love to see Mitch eat. Since I had to eat my 2008 at 100 subscribers, Mitch has to suffer as well, which would be good. And again, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the show, and please leave a comment. And again, if you've got any topics that you want to us to cover, let us know. I've got a feeling next episode might be the anniversary of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Say no, Ed. Say no.
So we might have to do that.
This year in 2020, we've suffered enough. I might have to hurt myself.
Oh, please don't. Anyway, so thanks again for watching. This is Ed Dollister.
This is Mitch Halleck.
And we'll see you next episode on Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. Bye-bye.
Bye.